Today, do customers trust humans or robots more for advice?
I think it's a very good question. I think it's not just a question of humans versus robots, it's whether customers trust the institution. Right? I mean, one of the reasons why we have so much compliance in the world since the 2008 global financial crisis was the trust in banks has been eroded. On the other hand, some banks are too big to fail, so that leaves us with a societal problem. And I think Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies is exactly that way. Why it has suddenly become so popular and why is it very difficult to control? Because it's a network where people trust the network more than an individual institution that might not have always the customer's interest at heart. And I think this is a completely, in particular the blockchain, will completely change the underlying economics. And again, this is the question whether the current institutions are prepared for that shift in economic thinking and implication.
I think it's what I find interesting is the whole trust question, because trust takes so long to develop with not a human being, and you can lose it in 2 seconds. And clearly the banks, particularly in Europe and the US, lost that trust at the financial crisis. I don't think it's as bad here. I think that people trust banks more in Asia than they do in Europe. And rebuilding that trust takes a long time, and I don't think that's happened yet in many centres. The other side of that coin is the technology issue, and I find that really fascinating. If you'd asked me 5 years ago or 3 years ago, do I trust the computer? Do I have my credit card details on the computer? The answer was probably no, I don't. But trust on a technology is very binary. You either do or you don't. And at the point that you put your credit card details and your CVV number into the computer, you are committed and you then trust it. So I think it's a really binary thing. I don't think it's going to take a long time to develop. But in many parts of using fintech, there's still going to be a lot of human interface. The sales point, the relationship point, it's all going to be human. Maybe not in the retail side. So you still need to have that trust with the organisation and the people. But I think with the technology, it happens very quickly.
I think there's another element to this as well. And that's the millennials. If you look at this younger generation, they trust the computer more than they trust people. And it's really turned around because most of this panel, perhaps a few exceptions, don't fit into the millennial group. We grew up in a time when we had to build the trust around the computers, right? But this younger generation, they already trust the computers, and in fact, they watched their father or their uncle or some family member lose substantially, this is as in a crash or through some other bad financial investment advice. And they look at it as, I trust the computer more than I trust my father's broker, Jack, who didn't do well and who sold them all sorts of bad things during the crisis. So, they look at this whole process from a completely opposite question. Why should I trust the human?
You trust the network. Increasingly, it would often refer to as the reputation economy. Right? It's the network. You trust the network, that the consensus of the network is, and
I think
getting a better outcome.
Anna's point that she was making before we started was important. I think what you were saying was that some people trust their advisor a lot. Other people trust technology because it's impartial. If 7 of us go to the same advisor bilaterally, call him up and say, hey, how should I invest my money? He'll give us different advices and we wouldn't know where it came. With the computer, if we fit in the same values, will give us the same results. So it does have a repeatability of the advice, right? And I think impartiality is one thing where the computers do win.
There's no politics involved.
There's no politics. There's also, I agree with politics, but I say it slightly differently. The computer or the robo-advisor advises the same to my grandmother as it does to me who's worked in banking all my life, right? But a human being, one always feels that will look at what is your knowledge level and changes the advice. Not, in the good institutions, but he will try and, direct it to where he can make more money and based on your knowledge, right? Yeah. So that's where, you start to get into the the trust thing. I tell my mom, she's 70 years old, she's a PhD, but she lives alone in India, that mom, anytime the salesperson comes, just say no. And you will not buy the insurance-linked, stock-linked investment.
In the next 5 years, there's such a big amount of generational wealth transfer. Those who are wealth holders today are in their late 60s. They have to pass it on to the next generation. And the next generations are in their 30s, 40s, some even in the 20s. And you will see that they don't believe how private banking or wealth management is done the old way, because they've never lived that lifestyle. They never feel that they need to be taken care of by a private banker. And like I said, we will change the way business is done in private banking, wealth advisory, wealth management, just because the habits are different. They've gone onto a digital lifestyle, therefore you have to cater to a digital lifestyle.
Very good point, and also very important, I think, as you were saying, it's increasingly sort of more of a hybrid model. I mean, robo-advisory alone maybe would not be enough, but it's a bit like not just virtual reality, augmented reality.
Yeah.
So it is using robo-advisory with some human input. And the human input potentially becomes ever more important, because there was even a book written about this topic called Humans Are Underrated. That in a world where people have increasingly short attention span, trust increasingly is ever more important.
Do we think that the more sophisticated investors will trust technology more, or would the less sophisticated investor, if I were to ask all of you to sort of make a choice, then do you think someone who's got immense knowledge of portfolio allocation, say, I love a robo-advisor, as a technology, because it really runs through the entire database of history, it's got that, and comes up with an informed choice, or if I were not very sophisticated, right, would I say robo's better than people? What do all of you think?
One of you, and I deal with clients, this is the data side. What your point is still true. I think depend on the generations.
Yeah.
And most of my clients are more than 60 years, then they need a banker. But when I have to deal with their son or the second generation that took cover of the business, they would prefer to see, for example, Morningstar. That this is the basic platform that they can rate how is the 3-star or 2-star the funds. I can recommend something because I think in the age of the manner or something like that, it's adverse to risk, they're gonna check that. Then it's like, and then they will choose the level of sophistication that they wanted to have, and then they will offer you the possibility to go and look for products that are complex products that they use. Derivatives or something like that. So the new generations are looking is more like a results driven. Doesn't matter if it's complex or it's simple, but we want you to deliver results. The other generation would basically want you to is like, I know that you are not gonna lie to me. You like me, so you were working with me for this year, so 1 year you don't do very good, doesn't matter, I will give it to you the chance. They are more trustable. But with the new generation, life for bankers is over. Because we are not going to have a job. I think, how can I convince this guy when they can go to these places and then to do this?
I think the point is the fintech and the robo-advisors, they can be consistent, they can be reliable, they can be constantly overseeing, but they can't give the little bit extra. They're going to be quite consistent. They're not going to be exceptional. They're not going to be geniuses. I think there's another thing that sort of worries me about the industry, which is that it's vogue at the moment. Fintech, goes through these waves. It's happened many times. The reason that I think it'll be very aggressive this time is going back to your point around the distribution channels are completely different now. While fintech has had, the early 2000s, the 90s, and other periods, then it was sort of technology within organizations and within that capital. Now it's out to everyone that has an iPhone, can access all of the capability. And but my concern is that there's so many companies coming into this space that some of them will not deliver a good product, good technology, whatever it may be. And the first generation is probably the most likely to deliver some weak investment processes or some sort of bugs in there. And people may get hurt by that, and trust may be damaged by that.
It's sort of a class action trust will get damaged.
Yeah.
That's very, it is certainly within the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
Right?
And most probably it will surprise us all. I mean, that's the beauty about disruptive technologies, right? You never really know how it will pan out. But if you remember the 2000 tech bubble collapse, right? There was a company called Pets.com. They went from 200 to 0, right? And there was a company called Amazon, right? And the idea always was, look, more people in America actually have pets, and people betted on Pets.com because there are more people who love pets and pay for the dog food than people read.
Yeah.
And again, so in hindsight, you should have betted on Amazon, right? But at that point, it actually Pets.com was a very compelling argument.
That's
and
right.
I think we're seeing the same now, that what actually how it pans out will be very different to what people might actually think.
But your take on who will trust more? Is this just age, or is it user sophistication?
Look, I mean, I thought about this a lot, and I think those people who realize that the world is fundamentally changing are willing to do that. It's not a question about age, it's a question about mindset.
Yeah, I agree. It's a mindset issue, and there was a very interesting report just came out by Accenture that I recommend everybody to read. And it's really fascinating because with the developing markets, particularly Thailand and Indonesia, they had the highest overall acceptance rates of one in digital advisors anywhere allowed that they polled in the world. And it was remarkable. So it wasn't a matter of wealth gap. It was a matter of aspiration, what you aspire toward. And this group aspired toward the modernization of using cell phone, using technology to manage their money, because that was aspirational in part to what the future of modernization and becoming a first world, getting out of developing and getting more developed would get them. So I don't see it as just rich. I don't see it as a rich-poor divide. I see it as a youth divide and an aspirational divide.
Wanting to be with tech.
Yeah, I'll take a different angle with this question about how we look at the adoption rate. I think it's more an issue of habit. If among us today, you are now relying on Google to tell you where to book a restaurant for dinner, or which hotel would be good, because TripAdvisor gives you ranking based on that. That means you have already formed a digital habit, and you've already moved towards that. Now, obviously, the dollar sum that it's involved, it's probably a few hundred at the moment. But where does it stop? Because obviously, then you are now probably using your smartphone to do trading, that's in tens of thousands and maybe even in hundreds of thousands by a few clicks. And that's already, again, increasing both the habit and the dollar value. And when you reach a certain amount of comfort level, then the dollar value doesn't feel anything. Doing $1 million on a digital platform and $10 by buying from an email has no impact, because it's the same experience. It's just a matter of whether you've gone to that. So at the moment, our analysis is most people are comfortable under 100 US for stuff that you buy online. But for transactions, e-booking and all that, people have already crossed anywhere between 25,000 to 50,000. People are actually trading and buying and selling 20,000, 50,000 of stocks per order. So you could see that there's obviously a group that's an early adopter that's moving ahead. There are those who would insist and never use their credit card online, and that's a different tribe altogether. But you will see that those that's early adopter has already moved ahead, and it's just how quickly that move. Each country would have a different profile depending on internet penetration and in terms of how they interact among themselves. But this peer group, this tribal effect is very real, because if my friend books the restaurants online, I get heard about it, I will start experimenting with it and I'll start using it, and I'm never going to go back to making a phone call for reservation anymore, because everything's done online.
Actually, we see that in our business, because people were historically used to calling the desk to get a bond price. Now we get it on a platform. And we find our users log in many times a day, and about 50% log in 5 times a week. So the thing that you would always use to call the desk, and the desk will say, hold on, it just, I'm checking, they're screaming. We all remember the dealing rooms, right? Screaming, shouting. Nothing. You just click, you see the price, and you're like, So that's a habit change, right? That's what you're saying. And once you're habituated, you will never call the desk again for a price.
So do you see a democratization then of the wealth management in general in the future?
I suppose I think one of the other factors related to that is this transparency is going to impact performance. And by that, I think that this is a generalization, but the performance of the systems and the platforms and the fintech that's coming online is going to far exceed some of the traditional, particularly private bank models that you see, which is driven on revenue for the clients. You see it in the worst cases in some of the unregulated IFA markets around the world, where pricing and costs of the products, even if the underlying fund may be of good quality, the costs of the management fees, which are not that obvious, the client is never going to perform. And I think that will be another reason for people to adopt it, because you'll start to see performance far exceeding what you'll see in a traditional private bank. And I'd ask people to look at the performance. Ultimately, the performance of the proposition is really the most important thing. And if that's aligned to your digital provider, your performance will be much better. At this point in time, revenues for a private bank are the most important feature for them, and not performance of the end client.
Correct, and it's also transparency is right. I mean, I heard about a client the other day. He didn't mind paying fees. What he didn't like as an idea was that he made X amount of money. The bank made twice as much money on his money when he took all the risk.
Yeah.
So he thought that is slightly skewed, right? The bank made twice as money as he did, and he took all the risk. And I think going forward, also the regulator will increasingly look at transparency. But more importantly, I think as we discussed, this question also evolves in really what is an asset class and where is value. And increasingly, data is an asset class. So that will fundamentally change the financial services industry as well, because it's hence the data, and that's what banks should be good at, right? They should know data about their customers.
And the point is that the data will be available to all, the end user, not just the bank.
And it's much more transparent.
But the point both of you made, if you look at a fixed income bond fund, let's be controversial, investment grade fixed income bond fund, when you buy it, that limits the total upside you can have, right? On the yield, because at best the bond redeems at 100, never redeems at 101. Now if you take with such low yields, if you take 2% coming in, 1% for just holding on, you've taken more than a venture capitalist does on a VC fund, right? So with this quantitative easing zero rates, some of these asset classes post all fees, are not making sense. And I think if you just reduce, fees are like friction. The lower they are, the better is the outcome.
Yeah.
Right? And if you can justify high fees through performance linkages, fine. If you can't, then I think once things are totally transparent, you will find people questioning, why should I pay 50% of all that can be made guaranteed to you in the hope that the rest of the 50%